Welcome to the Four Geeks Podcast, where we share everything about business, technology, growth marketing, and provide advice on how startups can build their products and predict revenue. Thank you for tuning in. Don't miss our new episodes every week. This podcast is produced by Four Geeks Productions.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Sure.
Today we're going to be talking about something that's not just some futuristic fantasy.
Yeah.
It's actually happening right now, and it's changing healthcare as we know it.
Right.
And that is how smart devices, those Fitbits we see on everyone,
Right.
but also like really, really advanced implantable monitors are changing healthcare and creating this Internet of medical things.
The IoMT.
IoMT, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got some really interesting articles and research here.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is that it's not just about counting steps anymore, right?
No, not at all.
This is like potentially revolutionizing healthcare
Absolutely.
for patients and the business side, which I'm curious to get into.
For sure.
I don't know about you, but I'm always very wary when I hear that word revolutionizing
Right.
because it kind of sets off my BS detector a little bit.
Yeah, I get that.
But when I actually saw what some of these devices can do,
Yeah.
that's when I was like, okay, there's something really interesting here.
Yeah, absolutely.
For example, one of the articles mentioned smart inhalers.
Okay.
Like for something like asthma,
Right.
not only can these things track your usage and medication levels,
Mm-hmm.
but like it can help predict serious attacks before they even happen.
Yeah, the predictive aspect is incredible.
Which is incredible, right?
Absolutely.
What are your initial thoughts on that, just from like an expert perspective?
Well, I think, what's really fascinating is that we're moving beyond simple data collection.
Right.
It's not just about, tracking for the sake of tracking. It's about taking that data and using it to actually improve people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's where the smartwatch, tracking your heart rate,
Yeah.
that information can then be shared with your doctor. Securely, of course.
Of course.
To give them a more complete picture of your health.
Right.
And that's, I think, where the true potential of the IoMT really lies.
So it's like this constant health dialogue going on in the background,
Exactly.
even when you're not at the doctor's office, even when you're not actively thinking about it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
And it goes even further.
Okay.
We've got implantable devices now
Right.
that can send real-time data to doctors.
Wow.
And this is a game changer,
Yeah.
especially for people with chronic conditions. Okay, so now we're talking about some like next level stuff.
Yeah.
I have to admit, the idea of an implant sending data
Right.
straight to my doctor makes me feel a little bit like I'm living in a science fiction movie.
I get it.
But really, what kind of impact does that actually have, having that constant stream of information?
Well, imagine instead of relying on, those yearly checkups
Right.
or noticing a symptom when it's already,
When it's really bad.
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
These devices can pick up on those subtle changes
Oh, wow.
as they happen.
Okay.
And that means earlier interventions,
Mm,
potentially stopping a problem in its tracks,
right.
and hopefully way better outcomes for patients.
So we're talking about moving from like a reactive approach to healthcare,
Exactly.
where you wait till something's wrong and then you go to the doctor,
Yeah.
to a more proactive approach, where these potential problems are flagged before they even become problems.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a paradigm shift.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's huge.
That's huge, yeah. Okay, so we've established this technology has the potential to be seriously transformative.
Absolutely.
But let's get down to like the nitty-gritty, right?
Yeah.
What are the actual tangible benefits that people can expect to see
Right.
from this whole, IoMT revolution? Because our sources actually lay out some
Yeah.
pretty compelling advantages.
They do.
Okay.
One of kind of key ones that they highlight is this idea of improved patient engagement.
Okay.
And I know that sounds a little bit like,
It kind of does sound like a buzzword, yeah.
it does sound a bit like a buzzword, like we're just, throwing a dart at a bingo board.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But stick with me on this one because it's actually pretty profound.
Okay.
The idea here is that when patients are more involved in their own health,
Okay.
when they have a sense of ownership over their well-being,
Yeah.
they're more likely to make healthier choices
Okay.
and stick to their treatment plans.
So is it kind of like how, I know for me, like having a fitness tracker
Yeah.
makes me like want to walk more.
Yeah.
But instead of just steps, it's like your overall health that you're kind of
Exactly. Right. It's like you're gamifying things a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But in a good way, right?
Right.
It taps into that natural desire we have
Yeah.
to see progress, to be in control.
I like it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So that's a big one.
That's a big one.
What other benefits are kind of coming up in these articles?
Well, another one that I think is particularly relevant,
Yeah.
especially these days, is this idea of remote monitoring and telemedicine.
Okay.
Right. So we're talking about bringing healthcare to people
Yeah.
wherever they are.
So like I could just be sitting at home on my couch
Exactly.
in my pajamas,
Exactly.
having a checkup with my doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
No traffic, no waiting room.
Exactly. And that's huge for a lot of people.
Huge, especially for,
People who have trouble getting around.
trouble getting around, people in rural areas,
Absolutely.
people who have, really demanding schedules.
Exactly. Yeah. It just makes things so much more accessible.
It's like the democratization of healthcare in a way.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Getting rid of all those barriers.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah. Making it more equitable.
Okay, but now let's talk about kind of the elephant in the room when it comes to all this data, right?
Sure.
Because our sources really do make a point of emphasizing data security and privacy
Right.
as being absolutely crucial.
Of course. Yeah.
So how is the industry kind of tackling this?
Yeah. It's a huge concern.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, right? When we're talking about people's health information,
Yeah.
this is really sensitive stuff.
Right.
So it needs to be protected. The good news is
Yeah.
that the healthcare industry already has incredibly strict standards when it comes to data protection.
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably heard of HIPAA, right?
Oh, yeah. HIPAA. It's like the Fort Knox of healthcare data.
It's like the gold standard, right?
Right.
And the developers who are working on IoMT solutions,
Yeah.
they know this, right? They're very aware of these regulations, and
mean-
they're building these systems with security in mind from the get-go.
Okay, so it's not just an afterthought.
It can't be, right? It's foundational. It's
Yeah.
not just about protecting people's data.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining trust
Right.
in the entire healthcare system.
High pay. Yeah, it definitely sounds like we want high pay on our side
Absolutely.
when we're talking about all this sensitive information. But,
Yeah.
I got to be honest, like every time I hear about like
Right.
another data breach or
Yeah.
another hack, you kind of wonder like, is anything really 100% secure?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's not just healthcare. Right. It's any field that deals with large amounts of data.
Yeah.
The reality is no system is impenetrable, right?
Right.
But what we can do is make it as difficult as possible
Right.
for those bad actors to get in there.
So it's about minimizing the risk as much as we can.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Multiple layers of security,
Yeah.
constantly updating those systems
Right.
and making sure everyone who has access to that data
Right.
is properly trained.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit.
Okay.
Our sources also touch on this other challenge with IoMT.
Yeah.
This thing called interoperability,
Yeah.
which sounds, frankly, kind of technical.
It does sound a little jargony.
What does that even mean?
So basically,
And why is it a hurdle for this whole interconnected healthcare vision?
yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Basically, interoperability means getting all these different devices,
Okay.
all these different systems to talk to each other
Okay.
seamlessly, right?
Okay.
So think of it like translating languages.
Okay.
You've got a smartwatch that speaks Apple
Right.
and a heart monitor that speaks Samsung.
Right.
They need to be able to understand each other.
So it's like the digital Tower of Babel, right?
Exactly.
Like everything gets lost in translation if they can't talk to each other.
Right. And if they can't talk to each other,
Yeah.
then doctors aren't getting the full picture.
Right.
Data's siloed.
Right.
It just creates a lot of inefficiency.
So how do we solve this communication breakdown?
Well, the good news is progress is being made.
Okay.
There are a lot of very smart people working on this, right?
Okay.
Creating those standards,
Yeah.
those standardized ways for these devices to share data
Really?
securely and reliably.
So it's like laying the groundwork for this
Exactly.
more connected, collaborative system.
Absolutely.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And speaking of progress,
Yeah.
our sources wrap up by highlighting some of the companies, for geeks
Yeah.
who are really kind of driving innovation in this space.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're really leading the charge.
What are your thoughts on what the future holds?
Oh.
as this technology just keeps evolving.
I mean, it's an exciting time to be in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
The possibilities are really limitless.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a world
Yeah.
where chronic diseases are diagnosed earlier, managed more effectively, where those geographical barriers to healthcare we talked about,
Right.
those are minimized,
Yeah.
and where data really empowers both patients and doctors
Right.
to make more informed decisions.
It sounds like we're really on the cusp of a paradigm shift.
I think so, yeah.
In healthcare, it's a lot to take in,
It is.
but in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way. And on that note,
Yes.
that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of smart devices
This has been fun.
and the Internet of Medical Things.
Absolutely.
We hope this episode has given you a glimpse
Yeah.
into the incredible potential of this technology,
A lot of potential.
and maybe even spark some curiosity
For sure.
about the future of healthcare.
Absolutely.
As always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
That's all for today. Thank you all for joining us. For more ideas on how to grow your business with marketing and technology on your side, or a recap of our latest episodes, feel free to check out our 4Geeks Global social media. If you need additional help to bring out the best in your business, don't be shy and get in touch with us at 4geeks.io/contact. See you soon with a new episode.